hotel commercial at the same level. Nothing in there changes. What would change under the proposal is that the floor area ratio for hotels would go from 3 to 4. So on a 10,000 square foot lot, a building like that would go from 30,000 square feet to 40,000 square feet. It also takes out the 75 room per acre cap, which is currently in that category. So they bump up the size of the building that theoretically they can build, and they take out the cap on the number of rooms. So at that floor area ratio of 4, whatever that building size is, as many hotel rooms as they can fit in there for their product would be the number of hotel rooms you would end up with per acre, whether that's 50 or 150. And then also the applicant has included some conditions that must be met in order for you to be eligible to even ask the city commission to put that category on your property. And those are listed here. You cannot be currently designated as residential. You cannot be on the ocean front. You have to be within or next to a business district. You have to be on an arterial or collector roadway. Then there's parameters for the business district. They have to have shopping and restaurants and entertainment. There's some language that is in there already about the typical size standard of a transient rental accommodation, which we had put in this language back in the days when people were building really big hotel rooms and calling them hotel rooms, but really they were condos. Today, I think the concern is more that you would build a very small room instead of a really big room. So that language is in there. You have to rezone the property to PUD, and then you would have to use some sort of upgraded architecture and landscaping features on your project. So that's the proposal that's here today. So going back, take out the 75 room per acre cap, increase the floor area ratio, and include these criteria for your property to be eligible. When we as staff looked at this proposal.
Yeah, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Can you go back one? Item number 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's a change from what we currently have?
It is, and I'm not sure if that stemmed from something that's on Unicode right now that hasn't been updated, or if that's a request to go back, and I'll let the applicant address that when he gets up here.
Because that one section between Esther and 8 is allowed.
Right now it is, yes. Okay, so as staff, as we looked at this request and the others that we're going to talk about in a few minutes or a few hours, depending on the case, we asked ourselves, you're going to have redevelopment. We cannot, just hermetically seal the city and say we're done with everything. Thank you, bye, have a good time. Things are going to change, and the question is, how do you control those changes? And I know nobody on this board, for the most part, likes to hear the R word, regulation. We've all heard suffocation by regulation ad nauseum up here, but there are times when regulation is very appropriate, in my opinion. And so as staff, we looked at this, and these are the key issues that we felt the board should focus on. These are just staff's key issues. First of all, the key issue is there is already a land use in place on all of these properties that we're going to be discussing. The city is not obligated to change its plan. We have a request, but because somebody submits a request, we're not obligated to approve it. However, if the city commission ultimately determines that the more intense hotel development is in the best interest of the city, then we need to look at how do we make that development the best that it can be. And first of all these amendments have to apply with comply with the comprehensive plan. And I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But I had a gentleman during the break who came up to me and said, could you please discuss the 5 variance criteria? And I explained to him that they don't apply, and his question back to me was, well, so it's just sort of subjective. No, it's not subjective. There are criteria that are in the comprehensive plan that says when you get a request like this, here's things that you look at. And they cover things, you're supposed to look at how does this affect use and density and intensity. Is it a furtherance of the city's vision? Does it further the city's sustainability strategies? Is it, you look at the locational criteria for the category and what's around it. You look at, is the land and the uses environmentally suitable for what's being proposed? You look at its impacts on water quality and quantity, the potential for flooding. You look at, is it promoting an energy efficient land use? You look at its impact on the transportation network. And you look at availability of public services and infrastructure, so things like water and sewer and schools and roads. And then you look at how that impacts on evacuation time. So those criteria are all listed in the comprehensive plan. And so when you evaluate the request before you tonight, these are the base criteria that you should use. Throughout the plan also, there are other goals and policies that we promote that may or may not be relevant to this and that the request may or may not meet.